Alex, start the beat.
Guys with beards we are.
Oh my.
Alex I am.
David.
What the fuck, David? Kyle I am.
This
Stick
is
to the script, you must.
And our guest today.
Oh, I'm Jacob. I have a beard, as you can see.
This is acceptable.
He has a beard.
I-
He's
I-
allowed for. He's
Can I
allowed
join
to
the
be
club? Am I cool?
This is your first time here, so we're gonna have to see.
Literally,
He's
your
allowed to be
first
here.
podcast is Star Wars.
I mean, it's a good place to be. I'm
Yeah,
happy.
Your membership application is
here.
pending. So we got a lot to cover today. I think
We got a lot to cover today.
I just looked over that.
He's staring into my soul. Like, I would believe this if I saw this.
I think the right place to start would be with the newest movie, Rise of
Yeah, I
Skywalker.
guess so.
Oh yeah, our topic is
Today's
Star
topic
Wars.
is Star Wars.
Yeah,
By the way, if you couldn't
yeah, if
tell.
you haven't
Fun facts.
I know.
If you can tell with a lightsaber or any of the paraphernalia that we have laying around, it's Star Wars.
And it's all mine.
Yeah. Some high quality content here, folks.
I thought you were supposed to teach kids, not me one.
Hey, it's,
Well, by teaching kids, you
I'll
say,
get, dude, I'll get into that later. We'll talk about that. That's a good one, actually. It is.
No, it's just gonna be an hour of me playing with it.
It actually doesn't sound like that. Like,
Oh my.
stop.
So has everyone here seen Rise of Skywalker?
4 times, baby.
I'm assuming only one I think maybe hasn't.
I've not seen.
And that's
Rise
You
of
okay.
have
What?
not seen it? Okay, well.
But don't worry,
well,
you're not
first
missing
off-
much.
First off, spoiler alert. Like, it's gonna happen. So just be aware if you don't want it. If
Please,
you,
yeah, spoilers,
It's honestly
spoilers.
January, and unless you're like Alex, like, just don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just.
So I guess the best way to describe my first impression of this movie was a 15-minute long Star Wars vine. I was so baffled by how fast this movie was going and how quickly it went nowhere. The first like 5 minutes, there's not a single scene that's like longer than 2 minutes, and that bothers me so much. Just even both as a viewer, and I'm a film major, so I have a better opinion. But no, like it really fucking irks me that they just cut these scenes together and nothing makes sense. Apparently, the first scene with Kylo where he's
Is on Mustafar.
It's on
I
Mustafar.
just found that out too.
yeah,
I was
and
like,
what the fuck,
and you
man?
wouldn't even know that it was Mustafar unless you actually played the Vader Immortal game.
Exactly.
Because of all the stuff that happens in there. Spoiler alert again, if you haven't played Vader Immortal,
So
it's been
like,
out for 4 months.
you know,
Sorry.
whatever the fuck happened to exposition and like what happened to the shots? You
Wait,
know,
what's Vader Immortal?
Vader Immortal is
It's
a
a
VR
VR
game.
game.
It is actually the sweetest thing.
Yep.
Like I kind of like this is the
Isn't there-
only
isn't it
thing.
a series. I think
It
I'm
is
sure
a series.
Yeah.
Well, it's a
Just-
It's a 3-part series game. It's low key pretty sweet.
I've seen a little bit of it.
I've only seen gameplay because I don't have money for VR because I'm only a music teacher. But like,
We're getting real,
education. But it's actually really, really cool. It goes into the whole story of like, it's in between obviously 3 and 4, I believe.
The best part to make a story. honestly.
Honestly, that's where Disney needs to capitalize.
Well,
on
Rogue
that.
They
One.
have been a little
Rogue
bit.
One.
Rogue One, a popular opinion, unpopular opinion. Rogue One is the best Disney Star Wars movie.
I really like Rogue One. Actually.
Rogue One was sick. I absolutely loved it. Out of all, like, what do they have now? 7, 8, 9, Mando, and Rogue One.
Han Solo.
Han
then
Solo,
Solo.
movie, yeah.
Solo was good. But Rogue One, I mean, it got everything in a Star Wars movie that I love.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
pulls everything
it made
out.
you care about the characters, which
No.
none of the other films.
And then
in
they
Disney's-
all die.
Yeah. but hey, you actually care about the characters
No,
that die.
I totally
opposed
agree.
to the new saga, which you're calling it. These movies are not related. They are not a saga. There's no character development.
Let me get into that too, because I am one of those rare people that actually kind of liked Rise of Skywalker because I got a lot of like the Disney's got a budget and we're doing Star Wars moments. I was totally like, and I'm very flash up front and like. No, like I have to see it obviously a couple times. Because first time you're just like, Star Wars.
Yeah,
I mean, because to be completely
that's what
honest,
it should be.
exactly.
You know?
No, I mean, I had a full story time. I had a full-on panic attack the first time I saw 7 in theaters. Because you got to remember, I mean, I've been Star Wars day one.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my first movies that my father took me to was Phantom Menace in 1999 when it came out.
My God, yes.
It's like that was I was like what 4 at the time, but that was like
This is the movie.
We're like,
The
hey,
movie.
we're going to the movies, and I'm like, Dad's taking me to the movies. That's pretty sweet. That's gonna be cool. And it's Star Wars, I've literally seen every premiere since episode 1.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously not 4, 5,
Wait,
6.
Dad took you to movies?
Oh yeah, we're brothers. If you couldn't
We're
tell.
tackling more than Star Wars here, folks.
Dads are like boomerangs, I hope.
Wait, no. Wait, hold on. It could be said that this relates to Star Wars because I mean, Luke's got dad issues. That's the whole saga, dude. Daddy issues.
I mean,
Star Wars daddy issues,
And we'll,
A New
we'll get
Hope.
into that too. I got it. Oh my god, what the whole
No
reason
hope.
why the Star Wars the whole reason the Star Wars galaxy is messed up is a whole mantra that I got that is going to be amazing. I also have one on the music. It's
Ooh.
great.
Oh, yeah, we should get back to the latest
Fast
movie.
Well, no, yeah. So that I was.
Yeah,
sorry,
you just getting back around to it.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
there's
I'm
so much
sorry.
to talk about.
So-
yeah.
Anyway, I kind of like 9. I think frick.
You're on 9. You're talking about
Yeah,
9.
so I was talking about 9.
Yeah.
I liked it. Again, the first time you see it. Oh, I was talking actually about 7 when I was having
Yeah.
my panic attack.
Yeah.
Because my favorite part of every Star Wars movie is like it fades to black, and then it has one a long time ago, guys far far away.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh yeah, and then that high C from that trumpet,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
Concert B flat.
Thanks.
thanks, Dave.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Sorry, it's on my head.
I was transposing for the people at home.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
You want to have a theory lesson while we're at it, Dave? But I mean, that's like one of my favorite moments ever. I mean, and especially at a premiere, like all the diehard fans are there. You just hear, yeah, or like,
Oh yeah.
or the guy, turn off the flash, you fucking moron.
It was good.
Well, hands down, one of my favorite moments. I had a full-on panic attack the first time because I mean, the last time I saw that in theaters was like 2003.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So absolutely love it. I mean, and there's a meme that's like it pretty much like summed up the whole thing. Like, yeah, they're not the greatest in the world, but it's a Star Wars movie, and and unfortunately too with the Skywalker saga ending, we'll never get that opening again.
Yeah.
For another 30 years until they want to make more money.
I
But, like,
would say I don't know if I really agree on that. But you finish. I'll go on my
Yeah.
spiel in a minute.
no, but I mean, I totally think they're gonna keep going. I mean, it's kind of stupid for them not to
There's
go.
no way they will.
But I mean, I like 9 for what it was. Is there a lot of holes? Oh yeah. I mean, there's still holes from. I honestly, it stopped a lot of the holes from 8 that I had, but it kind of added more.
Yes.
And I feel like honestly, I really feel like if they just took the story from 9 and expanded it into the trilogy, I think that would have been a really good.
They could have. And here's where it gets really bad: is that there was another full script for Rise of Skywalker.
Well, because they
called
fired.
Duel of the Fates. This is confirmed by the director. Was not his cut. Disney. It was Disney's cut. Was Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
His film was called Duel of the Fates, and the plot was completely different.
And I read some of it. And
Yes.
it's fabulous.
sounds
it ties
great.
in all of 1 through 9.
Yes.
Even like,
It's
and
so
okay,
crazy.
unpopular opinion as well. Kiara, I'm very sorry. 8 wasn't my favorite in the world. Again, it's a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
respect for what it is. I have favorite parts of 8. I mean, the duel at the end is one of my favorite. I mean, it is the biggest lightsaber duel in all of the saga, next to Episode 2. But technically, that is not the biggest because George Lucas shot them separately. It's actually different people fighting just by themselves, and then he pieced it all together.
Mhm.
But I mean, the choreography, the fighting in that is just phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not like what they did with Luke Skywalker at all.
No.
I don't. I mean, that's a
And the
childhood.
same thing. Even Mark Hamill agreed. He hated what they did with that character.
Dude,
and he
I
still
watched.
did it.
I watched the documentary on the Last Jedi. If you buy the deluxe edition Last Jedi, whatever. And it's that made me cry more than the actual movie.
Yeah.
It was just so sad seeing Mark Hamill be that way. And I mean, as you know, Mark Hamill and I are best friends because
Yeah,
he tweeted me back.
you got on speed dial, obviously. I mean, come on.
He tweeted me back on my birthday, and it was pretty sweet. But facts.
Oh, actual facts.
No, like yeah, it was pretty.
We'll probably edit that in post.
Oh, dude. It's so, I was crying. I'll tell that story later too. I mean, I feel like 7, 8, 9 again. Well, 7 is a fan fiction of 4, 5, 6 all together in one movie. 8 is its own little thing, which again I respect it. It's Star Wars. It's what it is. I don't like where it went. And 9 was good, but it just didn't make sense for 7 and 8. I think it had.
Exactly.
I think JJ tied up a lot of things that he had, and I feel like from what was given from Disney, I feel like it just he tied it up really well for what he had. Again, I'm not bashing on any of the directors. I mean, I can never be a director. I don't ever want to direct a Star Wars movie.
Not an easy job for sure.
I don't
That's
want
what-
that
that's
job,
for sure.
and I'm not trying to crap on them whatsoever. But it's just if you and I also don't agree with how Disney kind of treated George Lucas and all that too. I mean, this is his baby.
Oh, yeah.
I understand that he sold it.
For sure.
I
But
understand
there should be an amount of respect given to the original
because
creator,
it's
you know?
all in here, and he
Yeah.
had a plan for 7, 8, 9 too.
Yes, he did.
He had scripts, and he gave it to them.
And they said no.
Disney bought scripts from them from 7, 8, and 9, and just
Is
Didn't
George Lucas
can,
good at writing scripts
hold
though?
on.
4, 5, and 6 is a masterpiece. 1, 2, and 3. This you
I think
cannot.
everybody dogs
Sand.
on
Sand.
Okay,
I
hold on.
hate the sand.
But he's admitted he's not great at writing romance, and he's really bad at writing romance.
That kind of sucks because he describes Star Wars as an opera.
He does, and
It's a
I
space
still believe it's
opera.
an opera. I completely believe it's an
I
opera.
agree.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3, all his ideas. I mean, Jar Jar was questionable
What do you mean
choice,
he's bad
obviously.
at romance? Han and Leia? Like
But
that is
he did not. He didn't write 5.
That's Western.
He didn't direct
He
5.
did not direct 5. Well,
5 was not his.
he-
It was
he-
his baby, but he didn't direct it.
He hired. I forgot his name. He hired a sci-fi guy at the time, and Irving Kershner directed.
Yeah.
5 and 6.
5 was not directly under him.
But But George Lucas still wrote
Yeah.
5 and 6. But he had help.
So I mean, 4 through the original trilogy and then the prequels were all his ideas.
Yeah.
Hands down. But what kills the new saga is that these films died in the writing room.
Oh, yeah.
It's just they didn't make it past
There
that.
was no plan.
For lieu of selling toys, because if you look at the poster for episode 9, if we can pull it up maybe, with Palpatine in the background.
Bye, Jar Jar.
Oh, it's a
yes.
toy. It's a toy.
It's literally a toy.
Yeah, it's
the
not.
shadow of Palpatine in the background is based off a toy they wanted
No,
to
it
sell.
is a toy. It's actually legitimately a
So
toy that they just
They take a
cropped
picture
back.
of.
It's not even
With
the
one with
original one
Palpatine.
the one that came
There's
out.
there's a crap load of posters right there. I see it.
This one right
I see
here.
it right there.
too.
See the one with Palpatine's eyes and little down there.
Yeah.
That one right there.
Yeah,
That is
so-
a toy in the background.
So if we get this full image.
No, not the link. No.
And that leads to this whole slew of really, really weird marketing choices. Where they tried to.
But that's not a Disney toy though. That's the thing. It's like it's an actual original.
Yeah.
Lucasfilm toy. But you can see it too, because they did not. This is all plastic, and you can see that, and his face is plastic. And they actually just changed out the hood too. That's actually Kylo Ren's hood. If you actually look closely, it's the same kind of pattern and stitching.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
And it's just like it's part of a weird series of choices they did with Rise of
Well,
Skywalker.
It's like Phasma. Phasma was only created
The
to
most-
sell toys.
the most underused character in all of Star Wars. I'd say that easily.
And she could have been amazing.
She could have been.
Boba Fett.
Okay, for the fact that they, put her in freaking Star Wars Battlefront 2 as a hero that you're expected to play, and I know we'll get on that later, but you're expected to play in this is one of the coolest characters, and fun fact, she's the most broken right now. But how do you expect anyone to give a shit about characters you don't give screen time to,
Especially
you
when
know?
you put such a strong female.
Exactly,
lead in
and
it, too.
she-
I mean,
she's a
Brianna
great
Tarth
actress.
from Game of Thrones.
She's,
Come
she's
on.
a great actress,
She
and the
is.
scene she was in, she was great, but
she
she
never-
had no scenes. She had literally 3 or 4 scenes across the whole saga.
Yeah, I think it's like a whole 5 minutes of time on.
What? What are these? What are the choices here? I don't know. It just blows my mind the amount of disrespect that went into making these scripts when they're obviously literally better versions of them.
And
lying around.
I really feel like too, it should have they should have just kept one director for 79.
I agree.
I know JJ
I
didn't
agree.
want to do that, and I feel like honestly, if it was JJ's story all the way through, I feel like
It
it
would've
would have
been
got a little more continuity. Do I think it still would have been the best Star Wars film ever? No,
No.
because I don't. If George is behind the wheel, I think it will help a lot, just because it's and unfortunately that's why George sold, because he got a lot of hate for the prequels, because people were expecting 4, 5, 6.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah,
My
we've been talking a
going
lot.
going in. I know you guys.
We are
fucking
very passionate.
nerds,
If you haven't fucking told.
yeah.
Star
We're
Wars.
so
Nerdy,
passionate.
like Star Wars, huh? No.
Yeah. Yeah. What about it?
You want to talk about it, bro?
You want to mess with us, bro? We got lightsabers.
Yeah, let's talk
I'm
about
a
it.
Jedi, like my
let's
father
talk about
before
it in
me.
a seated environment with audio deafening blankets and microphones in a podcast setting. Oh wait.
Anyways,
All right, David.
so Star Wars fans are toxic.
Yes. I
Probably the
agree.
biggest toxic group of people next to Overwatch.
How dare you? How dare you?
Excuse me.
As our viewership gets heated like a 3-pointer.
I don't-
I'm gonna get Mark Hamill on your ass, and then you're gonna be in
I
real
think
trouble.
you would
Mister.
agree. I think you.
Okay.
The
No, I
fans of
agree.
Star Wars literally made Jar Jar Binks, the actor, almost kill himself. There's this huge story on YouTube that I watched, and I was just so dumbfounded of how he was treated. And then the actress that played I can't think of her name.
Rose Tico.
Yeah, Rose. How they treated her is just totally disrespectful. And I understand that to a lot of people that Star Wars is their baby. Obviously you love it and you have a really strong connection, but you
But
want to
I'm an
go out
asshole.
your way to send death threats and to hate on her, and that's just not cool.
Well, that's
And
completely wrong. You
Okay.
should not be doing stuff.
and
yeah.
if you compare it to Avengers, the whole Marvel scene, do you ever hear about getting death threats from Marvel actors
Okay,
and actresses?
To be fair, it's a very different age in filming. When
Sure.
the prequels came out, there wasn't nearly as much like social wokeness as there was. So
Oh,
like sending
no,
a death
yeah.
letter to someone who played a character that everyone hated, well, it wasn't right.
Well, I mean,
That's
we
what
didn't have-
everybody
we
was
didn't have
doing. I mean,
Facebook,
the internet was in
yeah.
its young,
Yeah.
was very young.
We didn't have
So
Twitter
I mean,
yet.
everybody was all about
It's also
shitposting.
not the only franchise that has had that.
That's what I'm
Exactly,
saying. That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. I'm
Like that.
I'm relating it to other
Yeah.
franchises, and I think the worst one is the kid Anakin. Is that
Oh yeah,
Jake
Ruined his career?
Lloyd. Jake Lloyd. I mean, that's why the role of Anakin Skywalker is quote unquote cursed. I mean, every actor that's ever played him has kind of been screwed over. I mean, minus James Earl Jones.
Except
who-
Clone Wars.
that. Well, yes,
Mm.
but
I mean, live action though.
yeah, no, I mean, but live action. I mean, look at Jake Lloyd, Hayden Christensen. After he was done with
He's a
playing 2
farmer.
and 3, he
Yeah.
went back to. I think he's in Quebec being a farmer.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously spoiler alert. He came back for 9 just to do a voice. I wish they would have endgamed it. That's me. But and then the actor that was in the suit, I want to say Scottish. I'm not entirely sure. The guy that actually was in the suit for Vader in 4, 5, and 6, he thought his original voice was going to be in 4. And then they got James Earl Jones,
Yeah.
and they totally screwed him over, but they still give him credit. And then if we go to 6, the old guy, I forgot his name again. I'm sorry, that played when they take the Vader's mask off. That guy, he originally he was the Force Ghost that comes back.
Mm.
And then when George Lucas redid all
They
4,
added
5,
it back
6,
in, yeah.
they added
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen at 6, which I used to be mad at, but now I'm kind of like, I get it. It continuizes all 1 through 6.
Yeah,
George.
you did it to add some context.
Yeah, cool. But that actor now had exactly 35 seconds of Star Wars time, and no one is honestly remembering him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of that's why I was kind of poopy. I'm like, well, now that guy's he's not
Yeah.
he was Anakin for 40
And
seconds.
I think that's happening with this newer saga. As sure they're selling the toys and stuff, but like, the people remember the original characters
Mhm.
because they were written well and because you cared about what happened to them. When you're brought into episode 9, and the biggest thing that pissed me off that I just could not forgive was the whole Finn thing. Was Ray, I have something to tell you. Bring it up 3 times, like it's the most important thing in this film.
Well, do you know what he was going to tell her?
No,
I'm pretty.
and frankly, I don't care because the film didn't care.
Oh. Well, I guess I'll go home.
But tell me honestly. I just like, why dangle something like that in front of your audience and treat them
Finn-
like they're freaking kids? You
Finn
know?
knew the entire time that Palpatine was Rey's grandfather. That's from the information that was leaked. From in the again. That's what was told by me.
What?
That's what I. No, I know because they found Palpatine, right? And because Kylo found Palpatine in the beginning, right? He goes to Mustafar to find the thing.
Ex Machina tools.
Yes.
I like these ones.
Well, I mean, it's the same
the
thing
Sith,
with
the Sith Wayfinders.
and,
Yeah,
and
sure,
the Force dyad, which I'm interested with, like how like
just call it a holocron, bro. That's all it is.
That's what I'm saying. It looked like a holocron. I was like, just call it. It's already.
I
in-
just-
It's already canon. Make it
Like-
canon. Like whatever. So, but yeah, and like, there's a whole thing too, like in episode 7, how like now we understand now how Rey is so powerful. I called it, by the way, all the way back then at Force Awakens. I was like, dude, she's a Palpatine. Shut up.
See, they didn't know that. They didn't know that.
No, I know, and that's what pisses me off too. It's just like I think the writing was never. They didn't when George Lucas was planning 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, and 6 used to be one movie.
Mhm.
Like when it was original, like when it was just Star Wars, 4, 5, and 6 were all one. But he was like, oh well, I guess I can't really do that, so I got to spread it out, and I
Yeah.
really want to make more money. But like, is that good? So he
That's
spreads
pretty
it-
spot on, honestly.
so he spreads it out into like 3 movies, and that's what just made it such a good movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, also he took it like right in the middle. He gave you the best part.
It's a well-paced story.
Yeah,
It's well-paced writing, and that just does not exist
And
when
not
you
to
change out the director, which it did happen in the original trilogy, but the
but
writing
George
was
Lucas is
consistent.
still there the
The
entire
writing
time.
was consistent the whole time. The directors
I
may have
agree.
changed, and that's completely fine. But when you're cutting the script so many different times, you can't expect a clear, concise product.
Well, it's like
just not
that's
gonna
kind
happen.
of why Solo quote unquote tanked, because they fired the guy before they got Ron Howard, and then Ron Howard had to somehow create a pretty much
Exactly,
an
and-
entirely new movie in the middle of shooting.
Yeah.
So they were going to lose money no matter
That
what.
ending
And
was
then
stupid.
and then
Yes.
also
Han
people
Solo.
no I liked it.
Guess who's back? Darth
Cook.
Maul. Wow.
Okay, but if you watched the Rebel series, you already knew that.
Okay, see, the big thing here is they're relying on other things and their IP.
motherfucking Star Wars.
You were
nerds.
ill-informed. You know?
No,
and that's,
actually,
and that's the problem. That's the problem with Disney. Is like you have to have Disney Plus now to know anything Star Wars. There is so much on the Mandalorian now that is just insane, which I love because me, I'm just like give it all. I love content, but
See,
like
they're focusing towards fans like you
I love
No
it.
offense.
No,
But-
none taken.
But then let's say you get like a more casual fan like David. They expect you to read every fucking book they put
'Cause they
out.
want
Every little piece of information. Hell, they had some new shit on the freaking dryers they were selling for Rise of Skywalker saying, you know, this, like, join the dark side. Like, what the fuck? Who cares? You go to see these movies as a complete, concise product. Not as something you have to go read a fucking pamphlet before you go see this movie. What the fuck? No one wants to do that. That's not going to create
Wait,
good
you're telling me people don't want to study for a movie?
Exactly.
Are you telling me that that people want to go to a movie and be entertained?
Bro, you got bills to pay. You ain't gonna go read no fucking book
How
about Star Wars telling you how
dare
fucking
you.
Kylo Ren got his triple bladed fucking saber. No one gives a shit. You're gonna go and you want
They're
to
exhaust vents. They're
You expect your time not to be wasted. That's the biggest thing.
And to go back to what you originally said, David, about how Star Wars fans are toxic, I don't want to agree with you 100% because I know
Not every single one.
no exactly, and I feel like
But then you look to your right.
and then I'm like, yeah,
And you
someone
see-
put time into this. Someone loves it enough to do this.
Then you see the true toxicity.
Oh, yeah, I mean-
Somebody loves you.
I mean, racism. and-
Not us. But somebody.
You turned her against me. I'm like, yeah. No, but I mean, there's always gonna be shitty people in this world, and that's unfortunate. But I feel like they always hype up the Star Wars fans that oh, there's so many of them, but and there is a lot. But when you put in retrospect, I think Disney said something, there's like 1 billion Star Wars fans, which I would be. That's a fair statement.
Sounds like
To be
And okay, so just putting this in perspective, okay, and I'm not giving these guys leeway by any chance. I'm not saying like the people that did send hate mail and had like actors almost kill themselves. I mean, the actress that plays Rotiko, like Lily, does not go on social media anymore. I'm pretty sure she's not going to be acting as much anymore either, just because of all this. I'm not defending that whatsoever. I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things, not the majority of Star Wars fans are like that. I don't think. I don't.
Oh, of course.
I think out of 1 billion, maybe. I don't want to give any numbers and be like that guy really fact check me and shit. But let's just say 500,000 or to 1 million are like actual terrible.
That's completely wrong. It's actually 300,000 and 2.
Did you count this morning? I forgot to study for this podcast.
Yeah, I thought we sent you the Excel sheet.
Yeah, sorry. No, but I'm saying I don't want to say all Star Wars fans are toxic, and
of course.
especially as one as the Grand Jedi Master myself. Lily brought my lightsaber with me.
In terms of a fan base, like loyalty and history, they have some of the farthest reaching, like back in time.
Mhm.
Like there were people out in the fucking like 90s out here looking like dumbasses, fake lightsabers and
Oh, yeah.
all their shit on, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, we're in 2020.
that's the
with
kind of
fake
that's,
lightsabers.
but that's the kind of like diehard fan base that that's been there since they came out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
You know
still
what I mean?
people from
Like-
77 that expect 79 to be like 4, 5, 6, and there's the same people that hate 1, 2, 3 because they
Yeah.
want it to be 4, 5, 6. But unfortunately, nothing will be like that because
You can't replicate that kind of fan base anywhere else.
You
to
can't
be
replicate
honest.
those movies anywhere else. I mean, yes, you can have Star Wars movies, but you will never make 4, 5, 6 again. That's just facts.
Yeah. I feel like
Star
David
Wars
has
in and
something
of
to say.
itself has Star Wars in and of itself has like spread and like gotten to every nook and cranny
Oh yeah.
to like any sort of like
It's a religion now.
media, societal like norms and things like that. Things from the movies that you might have not even seen the movies, but you're probably saying sayings from the movies
all
You
the
know what I
time.
mean?
Yeah.
Perfect example was me, who hadn't seen any of the Star Wars movies until the first of the new trilogy came out. And I think it was me and you watched all 6 of them
Yep.
like the 2 days beforehand.
Yep.
So I could go see it.
Jesus.
We keep
Don't
our
blame
people
me.
educated.
My mom made. I watched Star Trek. I watched
Hardcore.
Star Trek going up. That's just how it was. My
Yeah.
mom
You're
was
a
No, 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 no.
Trekkie?
My
No,
mom
no,
was
no,
a
no,
Trekkie.
Oh!
none of that shit on this podcast. No,
Yeah.
we do not discriminate.
Hey.
We like Picard and we like
Hey.
Kirk.
No,
equally.
we don't like
Live-
Picard. We
live-
like Kirk only.
Live long and prosper, man. We're all good.
But either way, you know what I mean? But like even then, I was, you can't go throughout your life without referencing Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, how many
At
movies?
least
It's
impossible.
just ingrained in social circles.
I mean, how many
everywhere.
movies have quoted "I am your father"? Like just right. I mean, that broke movies. That
Yeah.
broke it.
Yeah.
Like you what? Okay.
Who's the fuck out of me?
Do we have another topic to go to?
Oh, well, I feel
guys?
like David has to give his
Oh,
speech
yeah, no,
before we
David's
move
got
on.
My speech.
Please.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I was gonna do it. I was gonna be like, anyway.
Anyways, I feel like I've said that a lot in this podcast. Oh my! It's been these two talking, and then
Yes.
me and Alex going.
Nod.
Sorry.
Smile.
Yeah. So
I'm a special guest.
no, it's okay.
We're just special.
I want to talk about that the sequels, the Phantom Menace
That's pretty cool.
and prequel.
Attack of the Clones and
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Return of the Sith.
Again, hit me if I get too Star Warsy. I mean, I'm the only one wearing
Hit
Star
him!
Wars shirt
Hit him
here.
now!
Well, I got the good lightsaber to me.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, bend over.
I think
That lightsaber belongs to me.
I really like the prequels.
Oh
Yeah.
I really enjoy them
because this group grew up with it.
I think
I'm gonna shut up actually. 'Cause you
No,
can
yeah,
talk.
I need
But
my
the
throat
reason
hurts.
for that is they got judged so harshly the first time around. But like going back to them, like there's a real charm to them. Like, okay, people are gonna always give to the guff for being 90% CGI. That's just how it's always gonna be. But I like honestly, in terms of all the movies across there, I really put Revenge of the Sith up there.
Oh,
'Cause
dude,
that movie is so good.
Revenge of the Sith is my number 2. It's Empire,
Yeah,
then Revenge
just
of the
well done.
Sith, and it's like they're knocking at the door for
Yeah.
each other.
I like it's my whole philosophy going into Star Wars is that everyone expects this like deep universe with every character written. Every character has a backstory, and how I grew up watching Star Wars comparatively to you was it's just fun movies. They're really just really fun, intriguing special effects. You know, and base level emotions that a kid can understand, and that's why I think that when we were growing up, is that we liked the prequels because that was our 70s and
Yeah.
80s Star Wars. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
that
absolutely.
it was ours, and it was really cool. And honestly, I don't hate any Star Wars movie. There's not a single Star Wars movies that I hate because I go in there with the same philosophy that it's
Yeah.
just gonna be dumb fun. Like, and then when the fifth one, right, came out of nowhere and is now probably one of the most iconic movies of all time.
Yeah,
It just
easily.
adds more, and that's why it's a lot of people's favorite movie of all time because it's just so powerful of a movie, and the scenes, everything's just so iconic.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
But
too.
what the prequels do is it's just fun. Clone Wars, it has some bad moments.
Yeah.
It has some terrible moments
I don't
across
like
the board.
sand.
Right?
It's
And
everywhere.
but the movie's so fun. The whole seeing all those Jedi's battle
I like
Yeah.
sand.
against, and then the clones come in. That
Smooth.
is so cool. Can you guys stop talking?
He's touching me, Dad.
I'm trying to talk, and you guys are like Star Wars jokes, Star Wars jokes, Star Wars. We're better than him.
Listen, you have a motherfucker sitting next to you who's gently caressing you, and you try to not do anything.
Do we?
You're breaking my heart.
Stop.
Star Wars has slavery. Star Wars has slavery in it.
But on the point of the dumb fun thing, I completely agree. Except in the fact that when a movie treats its audience like they're dumbasses, I cannot accept that. I don't care how dumb fun it can be pushing the bounds of CGI, whatever it does. And that's what the prequel trilogy did. It was a fucking blast, and I still have a blast doing through it. But you know what the prequel trilogy does that the newer ones don't? They show, they don't tell. And fucking every goddamn thing in the newer movies, it's exposition. Like, this person's going here, or they just don't tell you anything at all. They give you either everything or nothing. There's no in between. There's just no, like, you're not telling the story organically. It's like info dump. We're at a battle. Enjoy it. You know, like
Mini chlorians.
The biggest gripe I had with the 9th episode was that, you know, when they went to a different planet, it was a huge deal. Going from Hoth to Dagobah to the Cloud City to everywhere was a huge deal, and they're so iconic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You go to this new movie, we're going here,
Exactly.
we're going here. It was so it made me have a headache in the film.
I've heard that from so many people about episode 9 is it gives you a headache, and
It's
it
just-
legitimately
it's so
does.
rushed.
That's the part of it's so quick, but it's a
So
2.5 hour movie. So how can it be that quick?
And there was another 40 minutes
Exactly.
shot.
Yeah. And
There was a whole other almost hour of that movie. I would have loved
the
to
premise
see
for
it.
that should have been great. They're adventuring. They're doing the classic Star Wars thing of jumping planet to planet,
The crew's
getting
back
the stuff
together in the
done.
Falcon.
And that's exactly what episode 4 was. They're going planet to planet. Different things. And they didn't do any of those films. They didn't tell you this is this planet's name. No, you heard it in natural conversation, or you saw from like on Hoth, for example. You see this place is like fucking ass, dude. It's got the wampas. The snow is bitter as shit, and like
It looks like Norway.
the planet feels real as opposed to like when they get on the smuggling planet in episode 9, and they go to meet Poe's friend, who instantly gives up like this life token they've been saving up her whole life for, and she just gives it away.
And who they literally made
What?
like Lego sets off of. And
Yeah,
she's in the movie for a whole.
It doesn't
6
flow
minutes.
organically, and when you like the dumb fun thing, that's always going to be there. And like you're going to see saber battles, you're going to see saber battles, no matter what.
Like the fight between Kylo and Rey on the broken Death Star.
It's
Oh, dude,
creative.
that's one of my favorite
so
parts.
cool.
It's
of the movie.
creative. I love that moment. But it's because it's creative.
Can we talk about?
It's creative.
Can we talk about like the saddest part in the entire in 9? My favorite part too, and honestly, I watched it 4 times, and every time I always tear up is when Han Solo.
I was going to say, can I guess?
Oh
what you're
my
gonna
God,
say? And it's the Han Solo scene. Yes.
The first time I saw that dude, I'm like, I'm even getting emotional now. I'm like, I bawled. And I
Yes.
don't cry at things, man. I really don't. I was dying. I was like, and it was that was a good writing moment, and that leads me to then my next comment. Adam Driver is the best actor in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
there are good actors. I'm not saying that none of them are like terrible, but Adam Driver hands down is like, I mean, there's everyone, and then there's Adam Driver. Like he was
also given the most to work with, though.
He was.
feel,
I
out of all of
100%
them.
agree with that. Like Kylo Ren's character is my favorite in the sequels. He's just awesome, and not only is he good in Star Wars, but I mean, ever since Force Awakens, that dude's been everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
No.
he's got nominated for an
I mean,
Oscar.
when you're the main bad guy in a Star Wars film,
Sean did say that. It's like, and people were like saying instead of watching Star Wars, just watch Marriage Story. So Sean said that.
honestly,
Well, I know Sean's
honestly,
take is just like he hates all of it, like 7, 8, 9, like right? That's Sean's?
bits and pieces he likes, but yeah, overall, I'd say he probably is mostly
he's
disappointed with it, like many people.
Yeah.
But I mean, wrapping up our thoughts on the films, there's definitely room for improvement, especially since the fact that they made a whole nother script for 9. I guess I'm really looking forward most to them moving away from Skywalker stuff.
Oh yeah.
I want to see what they can do outside of it.
With
Because
Obi-Wan.
obviously, exactly, and that show just got delayed.
Just
actually,
got
which sucks.
actually canceled.
It's kind of funny.
canceled.
What
What?
show?
Wow,
That's
we have
why.
no hope anymore.
Yeah.
What show? What show?
No,
The Obi-Wan Kenobi show
There's another.
with Ewan
there's a-
McGregor.
Son of a
I guess
bitch.
I heard it got delayed, but I guess it got canceled.
That's what I heard.
Is
from-
that confirmed?
That's what I heard. Star Wars Theory
Let's not confirm
confirmed
that
it.
here, but maybe on there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good thing to look
Yeah,
at because the
yeah,
last
'cause
thing,
I
the
was
last thing
really
I
excited
saw
for that show.
and Star Wars Theory, like that's the guy I go to, is
It's being reworked. Yeah, it's not canceled.
They're on hold.
Yeah, it's not.
Wait.
well, that's Collider though.
Show canceled.
Oh, please no.
Is delayed.
Yeah,
but not
delayed.
canceled.
All right,
yes.
all right. So
There is hope.
There is hope,
There's a new hope.
and we're back to episode 4. Ah, Misa back.
I did see on a thing it said Obi-Wan canceled ? And it was probably just like a
Clickbait.
Big old fat
Um,
clickbait.
But moving back to the movies, there's a lot of missed
Wrapping up our thoughts on the movies. Moving back to the movies.
Yeah. Well, we moved away from it, so I got to wrap up so we can move back to wrap up. Yes. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with the way Disney's doing this. It's obviously it's much more about the merchandise they can sell than anything else. But on the fan side, franchises change. It's okay that something is different
Except Lord of
from the
Rings,
things you
Harry
really like,
Potter.
because new people are writing things all the time, and no director is going to tell the story the same way. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think it's kind of funny that the shows outside of the main movies are getting better at than.
Because they can do anything with them.
Yeah, let's have David have his final thoughts on the movies, and then I'll talk about the shows.
I like The Last Jedi.
I like parts of it. It's my favorite one out of all three of them.
I honestly, what is it? The Canto Bite scene.
Yes.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think that's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
That's fair.
I like.
What about it? I'm curious.
Seeing the gambling side and seeing like the whole like again like that
What?
you think that after the 6th movie that everything's fine, but it's still shit.
Yeah, no.
and Mando shows that too.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
I think that when they showed that and they showed like the kids, part, like
Mhm.
like it was a huge symbol of like, like people aren't giving a shit
Yeah.
about something. And it was like, even though like you see Rose's character, like, I know a lot of shit, it's just, but like she's like, I understand what they were trying to do. I just don't think they pulled it off effectively. Rian Johnson did not do a good job. but the whole like scene that like anybody can come from nowhere. That whole big motive
Oh,
is such a big player in that scene.
And
Yes.
if they stuck with that, it would have been so much better in episode 9.
That's why I'm saying 8 is like
Yeah, we never
I
see
think
that kid again from 8. Like we never see
like
him.
8 in a couple of years I think is going to be looked back on as a decent
out
movie.
of all of them, I think it's the best out of the newest ones.
Oh yeah.
Hands down, dude.
Yeah. Force Awakens is copy and paste, and then
It's just that Ryan Johnson had to make a whole nother Star Wars movie with questions that didn't have answers.
I just don't
And
like
that's
what he did with
impossible, you
Luke.
know?
I hate.
I
how-
liked Luke. In
I,
The Last Jedi.
dude, no,
I understand.
man.
I'm gonna respect
no.
Mark. I'm gonna respect Mark Hamill in that his opinion because I feel like if anybody knew the character more,
It's
it was
it's
Mark
Luke
Hamill.
Skywalker.
Yeah, so it's but I think like as the like the fact that like what he has learned is that he messed up.
Yeah.
Like that's
No,
what he
what-
learned. Darth Vader and Anakin messed up. Obi-Wan messed up. Like everyone messed up,
Yeah.
and I feel like that like it's just because he sees all these people mess up doesn't mean he's gonna be guilty for that. And
Yeah.
like he was like just because he was trying to kill Kyle, what's his real name?
Ben.
Ben.
So it's like sorry.
No, you're good.
It's just it's interesting because he's like because it's not ill intention. That's
Yeah.
why he's not seen as a
It's out of fear.
it's out of
what
fear.
he's already experienced.
and I think
Yeah.
that's just such an interesting thing that
Yeah.
to see, and that he just goes away, and like they could have had him as the mighty hero, but no, he's not.
Which he turns out to be in the end, sort of too.
I think were it a standalone film, it would have been much better.
I agree.
But the fact that they're calling this a saga is almost criminal because it's not.
I 100%
It's
agree.
absolutely not.
I think the
100%.
first 2 films can work.
Yes,
I think the
absolutely.
first 2.
But when you come into 9 and it expects like all these characters doing the banter like they've been together for years, doing like the craziest shit, like
Well, we don't.
Poe and or Finn are like best friends that hate each other at the same time. Like,
Well,
when did that
we
develop? you know?
still don't have a timeline from 8 to 9 because we obviously know
Exactly.
7 to 8 was like instant, but we don't have a timeline yet for 8 to 9.
As you can see, we can get right back into it really easily.
So yeah, let's move on. for
I
sure.
think the lesson to take away here is that just because it's not your Star Wars doesn't mean it's not someone else's. You know,
No, I agree.
Like as much as we're hating on this film, or at least I am, my opinion's completely shit in some cases. I don't have to agree with me. I'm just someone who just like nitpicks the shit out of everything when I go see a movie, and that's
it's 'cause
that's
you're
on me.
film student.
Oh, it's just because I'm an asshole.
Oh, it's like I listen to music the entire time.
But
Since we're in the later half, I think we should conclude with the music, the video games,
and then
just like
Think
shows,
so.
and then what's your favorite Star Wars IP?
yeah, absolutely.
Like-
On the thing that's moving into shows, I think
Yeah,
we can, I think we can relate music to every part of this. So we should
Well,
do
we
music at the end,
can
maybe?
honestly make a whole
Music-
podcast with just about the music alone.
John Williams
is a goat.
Is brilliant.
God
He-
himself.
As a composer, one of the rules that you do is you steal. That is
Yeah.
the biggest thing. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, John Williams, he steals a lot of this." He steals it so effectively that you think it's yours.
I
Or
think
thinks
stealing,
it's
stealing
his.
is such a wrong word. It's
Can I-
incorporating works.
It's
It's making
sampling.
a better art. It's
And-
not like it's better than what you're
So-
taking it
Yeah.
from,
And
but
this
you're
is-
adding it on.
This is what Matt Shandorf at Wayne State, he gave this lecture to us, and it is brilliant. Okay, so what is the first thing we always see in a Star Wars movie?
The text, the
A
Star
long
Wars
time
with
ago in a
the
galaxy far,
concert
far.
B flat.
Okay, no, we don't even get to that.
Oh,
The
that's
first thing we
right.
ever see in a Star Wars movie is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, the original theme is very planets-esque, and actually, if you want to pull this up, do Star Wars versus King's Row. This is really, really interesting. I think it's a good thing. I hope we don't get copyrighted. It's only
We'll see.
it's only a couple seconds of each, but it's really King's Row. Yeah, so it's really, really cool. The music that's from that is so old school. It's very, for the music people here. All right, so pause this whole for a second. So the music is very, Holst, very, kind of Western-esque, kind of very old school, classical. But that's like and especially in the 70s, when techno and disco were a thing,
Yeah.
kind of thing, it's just coming out. He could have easily, like George Lucas said, "Oh, I want it techno and whatnot, make it like space." But he decided to make it a full music score and be like, because he wants you to realize like this has already happened. This is history. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, the whole 789 original thing was supposed to be your looking like it's supposed to be about the wills of the Force, which you talk about in the Clone Wars series. Get into that a little bit. You see that a little bit season 6, which is really cool. But it's supposed to all they're reading through the Skywalker history and this is what happened to the Chosen One and whatnot. So he wants it to seem more like you've already been here kind of thing. And there's like thousands upon thousands of musical references. I mean, Last Jedi alone, there's geniusness that happens all over the place. And John Williams God love him, has written so much music in his life. He just knows what to do.
Mhm.
It's just, I mean, like if you talk about John Williams scores, and people don't probably know it, but he's written what is it? Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, the first 3, or actually the first 2. But I mean, he wrote the original, theme and everything, so he gets paid for all of them. He wrote the Olympics theme.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put that in perspective. The Olympics have been going on since the Greeks were the Greeks, right?
He wrote it.
And they said like, "Hey, we need music." Who do they go to? John Williams. I mean,
Music to Wrestle To by John Williams.
So let's go into this real quick because this is really, really interesting. So you got the normal, and then
Keep it at 15.
We're gonna get copyrighted.
all right, now go back just a little bit if you can.
You're almost shut down there, folks. That was a close one.
Can you go back to like right on 15 or right when it says Kings Row?
That's at 16. Right here. Just start it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead and start that and just listen. It's not even cute.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Yeah.
okay, so obviously we know where he got it from. Like it's Misa back. I'm gonna say that every time. I'm sorry. So it's obvious what he's doing, but at the same time, that's what he was hired to do. And I hate the people that like talk about like that. Oh, John Williams just steals music all the time. Yeah, because that's what he was supposed to do.
If there's anything I've like learned about Western music, is that you're supposed to take from it.
There's only 7 notes.
Yeah.
How do you
A,
think
B, C,
music
D,
has
E, F,
evolved
G.
in the last couple of
12.
years?
In the Western notation.
I mean, how do you think music has
Sorry,
evolved in
Dr.
general? Do you think
Trains.
someone just like, I mean, obviously you have your geniuses and stuff like that, but like people take inspiration from people. That's just how we are as a being.
I literally wrote a piece based on Terry Riley.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Let's talk about your piece in Star Wars real quick, Dave. Let's bring that up real quick.
God.
Just to let you know, David is actually a composer. Find him on SoundCloud.
This is the worst moment of my life.
Alright, I'm gonna set it up.
And
just
it's
like
on film.
I'm gonna set it up like a Star Wars movie. Okay, so we're in Star Wars. Like,
No.
David Trains isn't. he comes screaming.
Tell us who hurt you, David.
I'm gonna get sued. I'm gonna get sued by John Williams. Okay, scene.
So, I wrote this piece, and it's my favorite piece to date. I wrote it for a friend of mine. It's a senior solo, and it was for French horn and piano.
Yes.
And it was just an excellent experience, and it was a lot of my own ideas. I decided to do a lot of things with it that I thought was original, and then I get to the second movement of the piece I wrote, and the theme is da 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 bum bum bum, and then we went to go see and I saw it's
Did I just create Kylo Ren?
It's like
No,
and
I wrote this after Force Awakens came out.
I was so pissed. I'm like,
And then we came to the realization that like the same week he was writing that, we were seeing Force Awakens.
well, no.
Mickey Mouse knocks
Oh no,
Yeah.
we were seeing. It was just like
It was last.
so,
It was last.
it was just
Jedi.
so relevant because the Last Jedi came out and we were just like it was so relevant and like it's just consciously back there and you don't even know.
Yeah.
And music, I'm not a composer in any sense. I can just I just teach the thing. I wave my hands and tell kids they suck. But you suck. But I mean from what I've learned from composers that try to do it myself, you got to pull everything and shit you don't even know is happening comes out, man. I mean it happens with any artwork,
Yeah.
And the last thing,
Except for the shop,
before we move on, it's a musical term called leitmotif, where it's Wagner used it a lot, right? When there was a character on stage, you played its music,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it's this theme music, right?
Which
But-
leads it to an opera.
And if you look into the earlier of the prequels, you see when Anakin is ever having like an emotional moment, you hear Darth Vader's
Yeah,
theme.
exactly.
And
Yep.
that's leitmotif. And a lot of musicians, especially in movies, it's perfect. The
Yeah.
leitmotif is, and if you look into YouTube, video essays, they always bring up leitmotif. Like it's a huge.
It's a huge part.
It's
It's
almost
not even just in music.
It's
It's just in
quasi
writing.
cliche almost. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's still effective.
But it always works. The reason why it's
Yeah.
used is because it works.
You always remember someone's theme, right?
If it ain't broke,
And
I'll fix it.
one of the I don't want to get too sidetracked, but one of the films that does this super well is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Dude, the
Yes.
it's
Two
just-
confirmed by the way.
whenever Miles Morales is just thinking and then like what should he do? You hear the just octaves.
Yep.
You just hear octaves and it's so effective and it's amazing. And John Williams does that in a lot of his films with Indiana
it's
Jones.
part of the charm. It's
and
part of the charm of the films.
It's
Unpopular. I haven't seen Spider-Verse all the way through yet.
Well, get on that shit.
I
What the
know,
fuck?
I know.
All right, well, no, the membership application declined, motherfucker. Sorry, brother.
Sorry. There's been guys with beards.
But
Yeah.
moving away from the music and onto like the shows and stuff, Star Wars games in recent years get a bad rep. Really bad rep.
Wait. Moving on to the show
wait.
stuff, the games.
I said moving on to other topics.
No,
The
you said
you
show.
said-
Whatever.
No, let's do the games. We're already on here.
I'm
We're
gonna
already
edit
here.
this shit. You won't see any of my mistakes.
He's gonna put us in.
I do want to talk about the
The
games.
games in recent years have sucked. Star Wars games, you're talking about KOTOR, Jedi Academy,
The original
Rebel
Battlefront
Commandos,
2.
The
original Battlefront 2. These
was-
are all legacy games that people still play today, and that I still play because I'm a freak about Star Wars games.
Dude,
Um,
Star Wars games is
so,
the best.
Let me explain the process of this.
Like
I
Lego
played.
Star Wars.
I heard about Jedi Fallen Order, and I saw it was doing really great, which is a surprise for EA, especially with Star Wars titles. And I played through that game, and it was fantastic.
It makes
I-
you
I haven't-
feel like
I
a
haven't
Jedi.
finished-
I'm going to stay
It
away
makes
from that
you
shit.
feel like a Dark Souls.
I
not gonna spoil it.
haven't finished
I
yet.
won't
Please,
spoil
for
it.
the love of God. Thank you.
But
I'm
the
getting
game
there.
is
I have
just
a
a
full-time
complete
job.
experience, and it comes with the charm of Star Wars with 99% no references to any of the other shit in Star Wars. And it does it such a good job, which gives me like
Doesn't
hope.
it have Forrest Whitaker in it?
Yes, it does. Which completely aside from the fact, it's just a really well told story, really good gameplay. Which only bad part about it is it's not really good for multiple gameplays or gameplay like.
Oh no,
run-throughs,
but that's
but
kind of
that's fine.
That's kind of how Star Wars is going now too. I mean, we did that with Battlefront 2, and the campaign in that, which was a great campaign. I'm not gonna lie, I really
Which one are you talking about?
Battlefront 2, not the original.
Which one you talking about, man? Are you talking about the new one?
one?
The- okay. Listen.
Eden Versio?
No.
Okay.
Nah, bro. I'm sorry.
Oh no, okay.
Your
look,
opinion's wrong.
okay, stop. Let me explain myself before you're roasting. No, okay. When I was playing it, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I'm not saying it's the greatest ever.
No. Yeah.
I'm obviously not saying that whatsoever. I mean, it was an okay story. Was it really? The whole thing was because of a compass that was in Last Jedi for a whole 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome, great. That was a good setup, Disney. I mean,
All I'm saying is Luke Skywalker, 5 minutes killing bugs.
yeah,
Not my Star Wars.
but yeah, with someone that gets,
Um,
yeah. No,
they took a leap and they fell a little short with that campaign.
yeah.
They
And,
tried to.
I mean,
make it really good.
that whole game started off complete garbage.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
it was
I've-
the number one shit list game.
For sure.
Hands
But
down.
I wanna say specifically about when it released 2 years ago is that the game
been 2
itself and the gameplay was not the cause of the problems surrounding
It
it.
was the
whatsoever.
greed of the company that
Yeah,
produced
it
it.
was- yeah, the-
multiple reviews specifically came out and said this game is extremely fun. It is entirely ruined by corporate scummy hands
Yep.
that
I
just
mean,
want you to buy
just
it.
I mean, I
Right.
think at the time it was like you needed 100,000 credits or something to buy Darth
Yep.
Vader,
Oh, yeah.
which is like, yo, okay, any
Why are
any
you paying for a thing you should be paying? You already paid for the game.
any
Why are you paying for more?
And of course, like, like when you're playing Star Wars game, you're like, I want to play Vader because he can like totally destroy people. And especially when we saw that in Rogue One, going back to the movie, just like a hot second, like, dude, that movie, I was like, I want to go play Battlefront 2
Yeah.
right now and just totally
But then they said people love this stuff so much
Yeah.
that we can charge them out the ass for it, and
Yeah.
they're gonna pay for it. And the fans and
I
the
did.
gamers in general, Gamers Rise Up in general, said no. We're not gonna do that because we're not as dumb as you think we are. It was just blatant slap in
He's
the
dumb.
fucking
to put
face.
into my dumbness, I paid the $10. And I was thoroughly disappointed because the only bad thing with the gameplay is now it's like, okay, yeah, you got the character, but in your actual multiplayer to actually play the game, right, to actually get the character, I think you have to get the token, or it was
Sorry,
at the
you
time.
need 4,000.
And
You
then
need
we-
4,000.
we-
Oh yeah, and then you respawn, so you had to die after you
And you
like
get a chance to find a token to become a hero on the map. That's how the OG one worked.
That was the OG one. That
Yeah.
was sweet.
Now
I
it's
like that.
I did not like
Now
that.
it's like, oh, if you die, oh, you got enough points, you can play as Vader, but like, you immediately spawn in and everyone's like, I'm gonna kill Vader to get all those points to maybe play as my hero. And then you're just like getting spammed. You're just like, you're so busy blocking. You don't have time to cut.
Well, that's because you're Vader. You gotta show them what the fuck is up.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
you
just
just
But-
choke these kids.
Then
Wait.
the mega backlash happened.
Oh wait, he did choke these kids.
Canon. It's canon.
It is kids. But I will say the game itself, Battlefront, the new Battlefront 2, I can only really compare it. I compare it to No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky released, met no expectations, total flop. But they did the one thing that every developer team should do when they do shit like that, and that's make up for it over a period of time.
Or just listen.
And No Man's Sky now, if you go back and look into it, the devs have been doing nothing but working on it and making it what they set it out to be, and they're just about there at this point. They have released tons of content updates like that, and they did the same thing with Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
Devs went into it. They removed everything that was cancerous to the game and to its fan base that people didn't like. They got rid of those things to make it more applicable, and then they did something super nice, like slashing the price in half.
See, that's a double-edged sword.
And added more characters too.
Yeah.
Because when you set the precedent for I'm gonna fix the game later, then no game comes out right.
Right, but of course, like when No Man's Sky and when Battlefront released, that wasn't the goal. They weren't. I'm gonna make this shit now and fix it later. You know what I mean? They were like, okay, we're gonna release this and hopefully it'll sell, and it ended up being complete fucking garbage. And then he said, okay, I'm sorry, we're gonna try to fix this. You know what I mean?
But
I don't think anyone releases a game with the precedence that they're gonna fix it later. You know what I mean? They release it with hoping that they're gonna get as much initial money.
I would
as
say that
possible
about
to add to it.
I would say about 5 years ago, truth, but
Yeah.
in recent years, you know, I'm pretty sure most of the Battlefield games all were shit at launch.
I don't play Battlefield anymore.
But I mean,
just-
Star Wars
yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront is basically
Exactly, and that's where the difference comes in between No Man's Sky and Battlefront 2. Is that Battlefront 2 has a legacy, and that is Star Wars Battlefront 2, the fucking Star Wars game.
Dude, Battlefront 2, the original, I up, left, down, left, up, left,
Yeah.
right, still gives you infinite health and maximum health the
Yeah.
entire time. I know that from PS2 world. Okay, like
when you
that game was
create
iconic.
that series, and Star Wars Battlefront 1 wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. There were no microtransactions that ruined the game. And then they went into 2, and they just shit all over it, man. That was so bad, and it took them 2 years to make it a workable game.
And honestly,
Hats off to them for doing it. It's a really fun game now.
Yeah.
I play it a ton, and it's
I
a
do too.
it's a fucking blast.
the only
One
thing
that since
Okay.
like in comparison with Battlefield, like I said, like the one thing that it does extremely well is that it makes you extremely immersed in everything that
Yes.
in
you
the
feel
game
like
itself.
Batman.
It
Yeah,
makes you feel
pretty
like,
much.
like Battlefield 1, and you're fucking in those trenches, whipping bullets over
Yeah.
your head, got your gas mask on. But Battlefront 2, you're in the fucking jungle,
Oh,
rolling
yeah.
out of the way. You see some fucker with a red lightsaber fucking in the bushes,
run.
and they're pissing you're pissing your Roger Dodger pants. And
Blast
you're, fucking, you're like, I suck. I'm a fucking bot. Like,
But I mean, I am happy that that's how it is now. But I'm like I'm in this weird void of Star Wars games. Like they can make a good one with Jedi Fallen Order, but then it's Battlefront 2, and it brings it down really bad. And then they made it good 2 years later. So now it's this little equilibrium where they can't exactly find out what the right fucking
I think
formula is
that's-
until they come out with a good, consistent fucking schedule, making good fucking games. Because how fucking hard is it to give the people what they want when you ruin a game 2 years?
Kyle's getting heated.
that was 3 fuckies in like 2
Fuck, fucking, fuck.
Do we need a
But-
beeper? What's the content rating?
It's
on this?
about respect for your players and respect for the fucking series that you're trying to milk.
And
you know,
that's what I think. Like Disney's kind of, and I think EA too is learning now. Is like they can't just like give you like, hey, Star Wars, because I think they can. Marvel they did a great job with. I will say that Disney did
That is
a pretty great job with Marvel.
ultimate sentence. Hey, Star Wars. That has been the last
and
5 years.
and everyone will be like, "You said Star Wars." I like that, and they kind of hope that, like, you know, they didn't care. They didn't care as long as you got the Star Wars, and hey, it's Star Wars. There's new character. Hey, there's Luke Skywalker. I mean, like, it's the same thing like with all the movies you can see before kind of Last Jedi. It's like, hey, we put a prequels character in,
Yep.
and everyone's like, oh, which is not like the entire movie. I mean, it's like with Rogue One. Rogue One was a great story, and then you put Darth Vader in at the end, and like you actually see him like mess people up for
Yeah.
real, other than like, you know, him toying with Luke all of 4, 5, 6, and the Disney got. Oh, we have the formula now, and then
Yeah.
like they just tried that with Solo, and it's
No.
it
Doesn't
didn't
work.
It
Seems
didn't
like
work
with
with
9, they're just kind of like, all right, we need to go
All right.
to these 18 places, and we got to put this 64 characters in, and
Yeah.
if we hit all those bases, then everyone's gonna love it.
And then at the end, they're just like, I'm dead.
Oh.
Why? Because that hurt.
I think moving on to a good game is the Lego Star Wars.
Yes.
Lego Star Wars
Oh,
is the
yeah.
best Star Wars game. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna
Well,
claim it here now.
The
Best
one
Star
for-
Wars game
the
ever.
one for the Wii where it had all six.
Skywalker Saga.
The,
you-
the
or
complete
trilogy.
saga.
Yeah, the
complete
complete saga.
saga.
That's
Did you
what it was.
hear that they
The
are
Switch.
coming through a 1 through 9 now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely remastered.
Hopefully, it's not as the Force Awakens Lego Star Wars. was terrible. I spent $90 too on the deluxe edition because
I'm so sorry.
because it was, dude. You gotta think where I was. The last Lego Star Wars game was 1 through 6, and I'm like, oh, dude, 7's about to bang, bro. And then I was
Who
like,
gives you money? You're bad.
Disney.
I am not.
You
gonna,
need help.
I'm not selling out my employer right now, so I'm.
Are we gonna have?
At the time, I was self-employed, so my dumbass gave myself money to buy stupid things.
Why?
But okay, I was expecting to be. It was going to be a great. It's Lego Star Wars, and then you're just like, what is this?
That was the era of hey Star Wars. That was before people
Right,
started
that's-
fighting back against that kind of shit.
Right.
But now
Especially me, I don't give a shit.
we're getting quality and it's getting better, and I hope that in the future you don't have to worry about shit like that.
Yeah.
But where the movies fail, the shows fucking succeed.
Oh, dude, yes.
Talking about 2 shows specifically, Mandalorian, obviously, for those who hasn't fucking heard about the Mandalorian at this rate, and then Star Wars Clone Wars. Not the 2D animated, but the 3D animated.
Although I will say the 2D animated is also pretty
It's
good.
also good.
I'm not gonna
Just
lie.
not nearly as long. I think if you want to find something that really encapsulates what Star Wars was meant to be and is, it's the Clone Wars, hands down. That the writing
so
on
good.
that show is so good, and that show gets so dark. for a
Shout
good
out
show.
to Dave Filoni. He is the man of Star Wars. I swear to God.
So I haven't seen Mandalorian.
Mhm.
I mean, I saw the first episode. I haven't seen Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Rebels, but I've seen on
Rebels
YouTube.
is-
What's
Sorry.
what's what's the Jedi's? Oh, what's Anakin's?
Ahsoka
Ahsoka.
Tano.
Ahsoka.
Yeah.
She's pretty cool.
She's
From
one-
an
and
outside
And you
perspective,
hear
she looks
her.
pretty sweet.
You hear her voice in 9
Yes,
too.
I
She's
hear.
one of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I think when I heard Rebels was okay. I heard Rebels was
It
decent.
has its moments.
Yeah.
It has its moments.
But the one
There's a
thing
couple
that I
episodes.
saw, the one spoiler that I saw was the fight between Ahsoka and Darth Vader.
Yes.
And I was
that made me cry.
like, yeah, I think so not watching, even though I was familiar with, like, you know, it's obviously Anakin's trainee Padawan, whatever.
Mhm.
Padawan.
Right. It's still very effective, and
Yeah.
it's just one of those moments like when Star Wars does it right, it's Star Wars. And
Well,
that's-
when it's
and-
not,
and-
it sucks dick.
And,
Yeah.
and going back to what we were talking about earlier, the consistency, it's because Dave Filoni was on Clone Wars, he was on Rebels, and now he's
Yep.
going back to Clone Wars. There's that consistency of like that one guy, he runs this show. And I mean, Clone Wars was beautiful in my opinion. Like 1 through 6, like what we got was just
And then
amazing.
it got
And
canceled
there,
in
there were some
2013.
episodes where you're like, why? But
Okay.
I mean, there's always episodes like that. I mean, how many times
okay,
is Scrubs where you're just like,
Let's say no
what are you
show
doing?
is gonna have 100% every episode's great. That's I'm sorry, that's impossible.
I'm gonna say that 70 show, but that's me. That's just me. But
that 70s show, Star Wars.
basically
Hey,
the
hey,
same.
there is a lot of parallels.
Hey!
Eric Foreman
Vsauce
loves Star
here.
Wars. It's your boy, Skinny Penis.
But I do think that
lot of
these
time.
shows have so much that the movies miss out on.
I agree.
It makes an Anakin a likable character. He's not just some whiny little bastard.
That's the beautiful
know?
thing of that I read and just like doing some like little like research on the Clone Wars is that when I was reading just synopsis on it, it's just like he still is pretty when there's an emotional moment, he still shows.
Yes.
He still shows the Anakin
Yes.
like that's
Yeah.
going to be part of the dark side.
He makes choices
And that's
to
brilliant.
save his
He's brilliant.
friends because he does the morally right thing, not the thing the Jedi would do. Like really episode I watched, it's called the Mandalore Plot, and the guy, one of the senators, betrays someone.
Dude.
One of the friends betrays someone, and he has a bomb, and he's like, "I'm gonna blow up this ship if you guys don't back away from me." And he's against Obi-Wan and some Duchess. And Anakin straight up just stabs the dude because the guy's like, "What are you gonna do? Kill me? That's not the Jedi way. You're not gonna cold-blooded kill me." Anakin straight up just stabs him through the back and goes, "What? He was gonna blow up the
And
ship."
then going back to
Like,
the music,
seriously.
you hear the Vader theme at that moment.
You do,
too.
and it characterizes him in the way that I think George Lucas meant to do throughout
And-
1, 2, and 3. Not that he didn't do it, but I think with the time the show has, it does it much more effectively.
And there's more you can do in animation too. There's
And-
so much more you can do because it's just you just draw it in.
Yeah, exactly. And
There's a
you
lot
see
of
that it works because then they did Rebels, and now next month, the last season of Clone Wars is coming back.
Was screaming when I saw the trailer because 'cause the whole thing with the Clone Wars now with 7, it's tying in, and this is confirmed. It is tying into Revenge of the Sith.
It's gonna start. It's gonna end right where the Revenge of the Sith starts.
I'm really hoping that we see Order 60, and this is like I'm not a
doubt it.
psychopath. I want to see Order 66 from inside the temple.
I don't think we're gonna. I think it's gonna end. Before that.
There's shot footage. There is shot footage from 3 of Anakin walking.
He wants to see those children.
No,
die.
I'm not.
He wants to see them stabbed.
Now you see how
Okay.
toxic the fan base truly is.
I'm not saying like I want to
Kill
see
those kids, Annie. Do it.
Guilty. I don't want to see that. I want to.
I just want to see inside the temple. I want to see those kids bleed. I want to see them fucking cauterized.
Star Wars Order
Helpline.
66.
Star Wars Helpline.
Temple hidden camera.
No, but there is.
Every Jedi comes equipped with a body cam now.
No, but there is
Cops
shot. There,
themes, like,
What you gonna do when Anakin
okay,
comes
so
for you?
hey, so going back to that, there is footage that was shot for episode 3 of Anakin, and like it's really crappy footage. You can find it on YouTube of him in the temple during Order 66. And originally too, George Lucas was gonna show him messing those kids up.
Yeah, and
It was in the books. Apparently, there is footage that he
yeah.
destroyed. But it was in the books, like, oh yeah, and then you're gonna.
Well, that's because Lucasfilms went. That's gonna be an R rating, folks. We can't do that.
Yeah, and then, I mean, there's the whole.
Star Wars.
I mean, hell,
They're killing some fucking kids,
there
bro.
was that
yeah,
show.
what about it?
There was a show, and there's actually footage just dropped today of that too. The Coruscant Underworld, which George Lucas was wanting to do too, and I think that's where a lot of the Mandalorian came from, is from that show somewhat. Because after watching that clip, I was like, yeah, this feels Mandalorian. I like that. And it's like it's really cool, and I really kind of wish that would have came to life because it's like right. It takes place right when Return of the Jedi happens. I think. If I'm sure. I'm pretty sure. I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's like seeing the downfall and like how like Coruscant's still Coruscant Underground. Like we go in the Clone Wars a little bit Coruscant in the Underground. Like,
If there's anything I've seen about new TV recently, that it's getting a lot more raw and a lot more gritty and a lot more dark, and they're mustering up the strength, to put risque on the screen. You know
Game
what I mean?
of Thrones, yeah.
So yeah, Game of Thrones. Like honestly, the best show that comes to my mind is The Boys.
Yeah,
That show's
dude.
insanely
Oh my god.
brutal. Insanely brutal. But that kind of thing is, I'm hoping will go into the Star Wars universe.
And
you could say.
I really think it will.
Mandalorian shows a lot of that underground, like stuff you don't normally see. When
The
you're thinking
underwater
of
part of
Jedi
society.
fights, you know
it's
what
a
I mean?
space western. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's a space western.
That's the term
That's
I
the
was thinking of.
original,
Like you
yeah.
see the original gritty space western kind of thing, and I think they're kind of playing to that more, and I hope to see more like that. So
And
like something in the
I
Clone
think they
Wars,
will.
like there being your hidden body cam in the Temple Lord.
Again, I'm not saying I want to see kids murdered.
But he's saying he wants to see kids
But I'm
murdered.
saying I would.
I would like to.
This is our guest, a child murderer.
Who's a teacher? Yeah, great. Approved.
Maybe cut this part out. Maybe. Maybe.
Just don't say where I work, and we're fine. Just,
All right.
I think we can lead this into wrapping up the podcast.
Closing notes here.
And I'm going to say that you said mention your favorite Star Wars IP.
Yeah.
Clone Wars, hands down.
The
The 3D show.
I'm done with IP mean.
Interpersonal property. So like a part of Star Wars.
intellectual
property. My bad.
What's your favorite IP?
I thought you were
What's your
talking about.
favorite Star Wars something?
I thought you were talking about IP addresses. I'm like,
196.224.
No.
I was like,
That's
what are
just
you
a term.
talking about? Like,
What's your Minecraft server? My Minecraft.
You
Star
don't want
Wars
to know
server.
the answer to that question. But I will say the Clone Wars, because when I think of Star Wars, like the most encapsulating, like the wisdom, because Frank Oz voices Yoda at some points during the Clone Wars, I believe, and later on, and he does actually no, that's wrong. It's on Rebels. He does.
Yes.
On Rebels, he voices.
Are you
Yoda.
sure?
I'm positive.
I
For
thought
Rebels.
Frank Oz passed away.
No,
Nope.
because
No.
Frank Oz was in The Last Jedi too.
Yeah. Yeah, he voiced in Rebels and Last Jedi. But
Did you know?
a lot of the voice actors, fun fact, that you hear in Star Wars Battlefront 2 are all from the Clone Wars. Because when people think of those characters, Darth Maul is also Galen Merrick or Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games. Same guy.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. And like these are really consistent voice actors, and the writing with Dave Filoni and all that is just so beautiful. It focuses on some episodes. It's just politics, and that's such an interesting part of Star Wars you don't see too often. It captures everything I love about Star Wars, which is not just the saber battles. Sorry, but I don't know. It's got to be Clone Wars hands down for me.
You next, Dave.
My favorite Star Wars. Just anything. I think it's got to be Revenge of the Sith.
That's a solid choice.
I think that looking back at it, it's just like there's so many memes, but there's so many good parts of the film. The two,
Yeah.
like it goes from "Hello there" to Order 66.
Yeah, and if you think about it's just an interesting scoring thing about that movie. During the last saber battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then Emperor and Yoda, how it switches to Phantom Menace because
Duel
Anakin
of
has
Fates,
become
yeah.
the Phantom Menace, which is, I don't know. I think it's kind of poetic, but I like that.
And that-
you can hear it
that-
in the middle of it.
Best music in a Star Wars movie too, hands down. Revenge of the Sith. I
Yes.
would
Oh,
say so.
yes.
I would say
And how that saber battle was
Battle of the
choreographed with the
Heroes.
actual actors not sped up
Oh.
at all.
Yeah.
Crazy. Just blows my
I
mind.
have the high ground.
Don't try it.
underestimate my power.
Like I said, it's so good because it's bad and it's good at the same
Yeah.
time. And like
It's a
usually
Star
you
Wars
you
movie.
you usually like a movie because it's so bad, or you love a movie because it's really really good.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this has like both.
Yeah,
At like
yeah.
full power.
It catches that perfect medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is very rare for a Star Wars movie. It's either completely garbage or it's pretty all right.
But it's a Star Wars movie at the end of the day,
Yeah.
so we're gonna.
And the ending was pretty
Good.
solid.
Good.
Pretty.
Okay. Maybe I could have done without the.
It seems in your
Thanks, Darth
anger.
Vader. We needed that.
It seems in your anger.
So what about you,
have
bud?
killed
What do you think is your fave?
So as a pretty late newcomer to Star Wars, late in a sense, I was immersed in the culture, just haven't seen the movies until way too late. But
Welcome.
I think I've come to terms with. I think my favorite thing about Star Wars is fucking General Grievous. General Grievous is
Honestly.
a
Revenge of the Sith,
goddamn badass.
His theme is fucking killer, by the
Here,
way.
like, so someone who saw nothing about the Star Wars before, here comes this motherfucker, this droid, who's like,
Half right, half.
fuck the Jedi. I can hold these some bitches too.
Yep.
Wall of death is gonna ruin your life.
Street sword of death.
The ultimate cancer in Battlefront 2.
And from what I understand, like his involvement in the Clone Wars is also
Heavy.
is very
Heavy.
heavily
From
involved.
episode 2
Which,
on, he's
if
in
you
every
like
season
General
at least.
Right,
Grievous,
which
you
is
need to
which
watch
yeah,
Clone
which is
Wars.
why like just as if something like that can get me enticed into watching the Clone Wars, I have no doubt in my mind that like
If you like Grievous,
Like,
watch
bro,
Clone Wars.
yeah.
That blew my mind
Hmm.
just now. I think I just correlated something.
What? All right.
You know how he collects the Jedis that
Yeah.
he get the lightsabers? He was killed by a blaster. How poetic is that?
Yeah, he got killed by a freaking blaster.
That's so-
And
Yeah.
then Obi-Wan
What?
says so uncivilized, which in 4 is like a more civilized weapon,
Yeah.
more civilized time. Like it's everything.
What?
Yeah.
And I mean, let's go
Dude,
to the,
Revenge of the Sith is so good.
thematic.
no,
It's
let's
really
okay. Let's
thematic.
talk about this one line from the Register, like before we go on. The line where they were Palpatine's free and they're going back down the elevator and Obi-Wan's knocked out.
Oh, he's like, leave him.
Leave him. He'll never
Yeah.
get out. His fate will be the same as ours. Anakin Skywalker dies on the Death Star. Emperor Palpatine dies on the Death Star. Obi-Wan Kenobi dies on the Death Star.
Mhm.
His fate will be the same as ours.
It's poetic.
Genius writing all
and
over
that's-
the place.
That's when people give George Lucas a little too much guff because he really did think about a lot of this
Dude,
stuff. And
this
people
was
just go,
his
it's
big-
dumb Star Wars,
That's-
CGI Jar Jar Binks.
I
That's
mean,
all
it was American Graffiti that made George Lucas, famous, and then it was Star Wars that made George Lucas George Lucas.
So anyways,
All right.
What about our guest of the day?
Okay.
the Star Wars man.
So, I can't
You got
say.
it. You got it.
I know, no. So, I'm gonna wrap this up real teacher-like. Class dismissed. No, and I can't think of a single Star Wars thing where I'm like, oh, that's it. Like that's it. I love the overall message of Star Wars, which to me, to a lot of, and it changes for different people, which I love. I think that any piece of art that kind of does that is just beautiful to me. Like, I mean, so. And I'm thinking of like the entire Star Wars, Skywalker as of right now, but like everything in general. It's always the battle of good versus evil, right? At least that's what it alludes to be. Okay, and that's what from a kid, it's like, oh, the good guys win, and like you're just happy. It's a good story. But when you get into like the thick of it, right? Obviously, if we're talking like Anakin Skywalker and his arc, it's like we all have good and bad.
Yeah,
in us.
and the Jedi aren't completely good.
No, and the Sith are completely bad.
Yeah, no.
And it's like it's really cool to see, just see something where like you have bad days and you have days
That's
where
why
you
great
just
Jedi are the best.
no, but you have like days where you just want to not just be a good guy sometimes, and Star Wars kind of says like, hey, this happens.
Yep.
I mean, look at Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. I mean, he started off as like this little kid that like literally just did pod racers, and then he grows up to be like literally the dictator of the world, but then he ends dying in his son's arms.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just so beautiful. Like, it's like this guy that's like came from nothing and literally like, saved the galaxy. And like, the chosen one he's still the chosen one, even though people say like, oh, but he like, he didn't bring balance, but he actually did kill the Emperor. He destroyed the Sith in the end. He has done his job.
Here we go. Oh God!
I'm sorry. It's just you imagined like you said dying in his arms, and I just remembered the fucking Santa harmonica.
Way to end this on a sad note. And I'm good to you.
There's so much we missed. Like,
But there's
We
also
can do
too much to
We
talk
can
about.
do a part 2. I can come back.
no,
I had
we're
a lot.
not doing a part
We can
2.
do part 2, part 2, part 2, part 2, part 2, part 2.
You guys can do it. Jerk
Attack-
each other off.
Do it.
Attack of the
Attack-
Trains, part 2.
I'm,
All right.
So yeah, just to finish on my thoughts, I just the overall story arc and just the how many people it's brought together, and I mean, we're all sitting in a basement talking about a movie that came out in 1977.
Yeah.
And my parents till this day, like, I walked out with all this stuff and they were like, my mom and dad saw it originally in 1977, and when it cost my mom had to pay a whole $3 for the ticket, and she was pissed.
Yeah.
And she was like, I never would have known that my son would have been, so crazy into this when I first sat down and saw that movie. And I'm like, well, sorry, Mom.
You started me on this path.
But it's just a beautiful thing, and I hope, even though with all the turmoil and all the stuff that's gone on and all the stuff that's going to happen, and I know some people are still going to be pissed and some people are going to get really happy about it. But at the end of the day, it's Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, and no matter what they do, Star Wars will be Star Wars to me forever.
The heart of the series will always be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
sounds like
Yeah. So
thanks for coming on.
No problem.
That was actually it was a pleasure.
He's back.
Maybe not that part, but so I think with that, you wanna lead us out there, Mr. Alex?
We're the guys with beards. I'm Alex.
That's just the coronavirus taking over. Don't worry about it.
I'm David.
Kyle, I am.
This one is strong with the Force E's.
Oh.
And I'm Jacob.
Hey, look at that. Perfect time. See you never.
See you.
Fucking never.